You can hear the shots in this video and see people begin to run.
This particular second line is one of our absolute largest second lines that we have in the city. It draws thousands of people.
2 weapons were fired at the first scene, and the 10 victims range in age from a 71-year-old woman to a 20-year-old man. 45 minutes after that mass shooting, another shooting happened as the parade crossed the Almonaster Bridge. That shooting killed 2 and injured a 3rd. A family member identifies the 2 people who died as relatives, 19-year-old Malachi Jackson and 21-year-old Rashawn Carter. Kirkpatrick says no cars were allowed on the bridge, meaning the shooting happened within the crowd, despite NOPD officers providing security for the procession.
Welcome to Real-Time Viral Crime, where we uncover the story behind the headline. Before we get into it, hit that like and subscribe to the channel for future content. Smash that bell to be notified, and I'm gonna keep you updated in real time, so let's get into it. Today's story takes us to my home state of Louisiana, and it's tragic and it's vibrant of the city of New Orleans. On this day, chaos erupted at one of the city's most iconic second line parades that left 2 unalived and numerous injured. And for those who don't know what a second line is or understand the culture down here, I'll let her explain further.
There were 13 people total shot in 2 separate incidents during what's called a second line parade, which is a real New Orleans tradition. It's a type of parade where anyone can join in along the parade route. And there was a big parade of this type yesterday that went across multiple neighborhoods throughout the city, and a lot of people were involved. I'm told it was so long that when the first shooting happened, it would not have made sense to cut down or shut down the parade route because it would have caused chaos later on down the line of the parade, which is, really gives you a perspective of how enormous this event was. Something else to keep in mind as well is that yesterday was a home Saints game, which means a lot of other people were out on the streets partying as well. This is home Saints games are big days for people to be out tailgating with their friends and family. So it really gives you a perspective of just how many people were out in the streets having a good time when suddenly, apparently from what we are learning from police today, something may have happened where, alcohol may have been involved, a lot of people carrying guns, and violence broke out, and somehow multiple people were shot in this. We know 13 people shot, 2 people killed, but still trying to learn more information about those victims.
Video from Sunday afternoon shows large crowds as the 9-time second line paraded down Almonaster Avenue.
And it started very small between 2 neighborhoods, the Desire and Florida neighborhood, and it just grew. And I think people have came to loving that and want to be a part of that, but you can have 99,000 people here.
Just before 4 p.m., police responded to gunfire in the 1800 block of Almonaster. Listen closely. You can hear the shots in this video and see people begin to run in the City Trends parking lot. NOPD says at least 9 people were injured in the shooting and went to the hospital for their injuries. NOPD says this scene near Almonaster and Roman was the first shooting. 45 minutes later, more shots were fired less than a mile away near the Almonaster Bridge. Now, NOPD says they don't know if the 2 shootings are connected.
We don't know, could be, but right now don't know that.
Authorities found 2 victims near Almonaster and Florida Avenue. Police pronounced 1 victim dead at the scene. The other died at the hospital, and a 3rd arrived at the hospital later and is in stable condition. NOPD says it immediately shut down the second line to investigate the crime. Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says all 5th District officers were on duty and additional were brought in for the event.
2 shootings, 45 minutes apart. What went wrong at this beloved community event? Let's break it down. The second line parade, a hallmark of New Orleans culture. But around 3:45, the celebration turned into panic. Shots fired in the crowd from a passing car left people injured. Thankfully, all those people survived from the first incident. But what caused this sudden outbreak of violence? Because 45 minutes later, tragedy struck again. Another outbreak of gunfire claimed 2 lives and left another person critical. No cars could access this area, meaning the shooter was in the crowd. Was this a planned attack or a sporadic act of violence? Police are still investigating. Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick shared chilling details. 2 separate weapons, 2 separate scenes, and no clear connection yet. These events highlight a heartbreaking reality that even cherished traditions can become scenes of chaos.
The first event occurred at around 3:40, as I said, and what we know, and the facts are still fluid, but apparently a car was involved, a suspect car, and shots were fired into the crowd. We know that, was it 8 that were injured in this particular first shooting? 8 people were struck in this particular shooting. We know 2 weapons were used by the ballistics that are left on the scene. About 45 minutes, and let me back up to tell you, those 8 were either transported to a hospital or walked in through someone taking them. All of those victims are alive at this time. Approximately 45 minutes later, up on the bridge, we did have another outbreak of gunfire, and 2 were struck on the bridge. Because no cars were able to be on that bridge, we know that the shooting occurred within the crowd. There is 1 confirmed death, and the other is in extreme critical condition, as I understand, but is being transported to one of our area hospitals. That's the information that we have right now. I do have, as you know, the staff here. If you have a question that I can't answer, I will ask one of our members here to address it. We had approximately 100 New Orleans Police Department officers on the scene. They were working this particular second line, and yet the tragedy still occurred.
Councilman Eugene Green was at the second line and says most don't end in violence.
We must do everything that we can to make the full weight of the criminal justice system come down on the individual or individuals who are found to have committed this crime.
Green says the 9-time Social Aid and Pleasure Club had a clean record hosting safe events. The police chief says second lines are a part of the culture she's embraced.
We have got to work together with the community to prevent any potential for violence in our second lines.
Tonight at 6, we are learning the identities of the 2 young men who lost their lives just minutes apart amid the second line shooting yesterday evening. The family is telling us that the 2 were related.
WGSU reporter Shay O'Connor joins us now live from Albanastra in Florida, where everything unfolded yesterday. Shay, the family has to be devastated.
That's absolutely correct, Gina. Good evening to you both. The family tells me they're way too shaken up to speak right now, but tell me that Jackson and Carter were actually nephew and uncle, but more like brothers. Family and friends mourning the loss of 2 young men, 19-year-old Malachi Jackson and 21-year-old Rayshawn Carter. While too hurt to speak on camera, family told WDSU the men were well loved by all who knew them. Relatives say the men were shot and killed Sunday evening as they were attending the 9-time second line in a hail of gunfire.
We heard that there was a shooting across the bridge.
Shanice Holland says she was enjoying herself when she heard about the violence.
And when I heard that this was happening and that somebody can possibly still be living, I just felt like I needed to do something. I would expect if it was my children that somebody would go and do that.
Hollins, who is a former trauma nurse, says she ran over as quickly as she could when she heard about the 2 men on the ground, seen here administering CPR. She says Malachi had no pulse while Rayshawn was still fighting for his life. She says she did all she could do to help.
And there was like 2 other young ladies out there. One was attempting CPR, and I let them know that I worked trauma before, and I felt like I would have been a better suit to help with the situation. So we started rotating. Doing compression.
Holland says she still wishes New Orleans police had more resources.
But we were doing compressions, but we didn't have ambu bags, which we couldn't give him breath. So I elevated his head to try to help give him some air, but it wasn't a success. And I'm sorry, and my heart goes out to his family.
This is many are outraged at how what was supposed to be a day of fun turned into mayhem in the 9th Ward, as thousands were out celebrating the 9th Ward holiday. Good afternoon to you, Radio. We're told that that person of interest was arrested on unrelated charges and is currently being questioned. Now, on your screen right now, you should see some scene video from that night in question. It comes as detectives say the two shootings that broke out on Almanaster Sunday appear to be unrelated. Now, New Orleans police are stressing that they're making significant progress in the two shootings that happened 45 minutes apart amid the 9-time second line. Now, this person arrested, we're told, is in connection to the first shooting that's in the 1800 block of Almanaster, where 10 were injured. But it's important to note that person has not directly been tied to the shooting. That's not it. We're told in particular 8 search warrants have been conducted and at least 4 guns collected from multiple locations. That's on that same shooting. As we know, the shooting in the 1800 block of Almanaster happened minutes before 3 other men were shot on the Almanaster Bridge. 2 men died from their injuries there. Kirkpatrick stressing the importance of people calling Crime Stoppers to provide tips. We're told more arrests are pending.
We are close to making arrests in this situation. Our technology is incredible, and we are able to tie these guns, shell casings and everything to any crime. And so that is why it really is just a matter of time.
And there's a $5,000 reward for each shooting, which means if you do know information about both, you could receive up to $10,000. Again, Crime Stoppers number 822-1111. Reporting live from NOPD, Shay O'Connor, WDSU News.
State leaders are demanding action to stop the violence. But what would it take for events like this to remain safe? Do you think this was a random act of violence or something more sinister? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any information related to the case, contact the New Orleans Crime Stoppers. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, this real-time viral crime. And remember, keep your head on the swivel. Your friends ain't my friends, and everybody ain't your friend, my friend.